Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Mindful Monday. Yes, we definitely have you on your toes. Hopefully, you are all rested. You got an extra hour sleep this weekend. And as if it's not every other week, since we had one last week, and last week was on Sunday. So, one of the things that we promote ourselves with that keep those pounds off is we really work on not being perfect. It is not an easy thing to not be perfect intentionally, but we seem to be good at it. So I want to welcome everybody who's here. We want to welcome those people who have been here before and continue with us. We'd also like to welcome any newcomers who have never been to any of the Mindful Mondays and heard about us. Welcome. We are going to give a brief review of what we spoke about last week. And tonight's topic is part two of Stay in Your Lane. And we're going to be talking about stay in your lane. And let's give a little review. Let's get right into it. For those of you who are new, there will be an opportunity after the session to be able to ask questions. We'll have questions and answers. And we do ask that you do respect other people, that you keep yourself muted. Once you'll have the opportunity to be able to unmute yourself, you'll keep yourself muted until it is your turn to speak. And then also, we don't allow crosstalk. But we'll talk about that later once we get to the part about the Q&A, the questions and answers. Stay in your lane was a topic that we started to talk about last week. And as I stated, I came onto that idea from my chiropractor, who was telling me how to stretch. And he would tell me that when he goes to the gym, he would see people stretching wrong. And he said to himself, stay in your lane, don't say anything. And it really triggered this thought about something that I've done over the years. And it inspired me also to focus about this concept about staying in your lane. For some people, it is very difficult for us to stay in your lane. And we dived a little bit deeper last week, that when you see somebody doing something that you don't agree with, that you are certain that this person needs your help, they need to be given some suggestion, they need to be shifted and put on the right path. And the question is, what do you do when you see that? Do you just tell them and go up to them and say, hey, by the way, I don't think that's a good idea. Maybe you should try this. And obviously, in a very helpful, kind fashion. Do you go around and tell your friends, hey, you know what I saw yesterday in the grocery store? I saw this person, not mentioning anybody by name, of course, we're not talking about gossiping, but just talking about the concept. I saw this person do this and that. I'm guilty of that. I definitely do that. I wouldn't say often, not often, but at times I do talk to my colleagues about things that I've seen so we can learn from them. But nonetheless, it is the average human being, because we spoke about the three different levels of humans, which we'll get to in a minute. Or do you just ignore it? What is it that you do? And I hope that people from last week became a little bit more cognizant this past week about things that you do when you notice things that are not done appropriately. Did you notice that you notice things more than you ever had before? Will you become aware that, hey, I do that. I notice when things are not right. And I want you to know that for me, it is one of the major barometers of how well I am doing spiritually and how well I'm doing emotionally. And we're going to get to that in a minute also. So there's three levels of people. There's average lower level people who gossip, who talk about other people, something that I was guilty of for many years. Then there's average people who talk about experiences and events, and something also that I became aware of when I first got into recovery 24 years ago. For those of you who don't know my story at all, I've maintained a 100-pound weight loss for 21 years. I've been in recovery from my food addiction for 24 years, and I've maintained this 100-pound weight loss. for 21 years. It's what inspired me to do what we are doing here tonight. Came from there. And we're going to talk about that later on, not so much right now, but just so those of you who, when I say that I did this, I don't want to scare anybody. Who is this guy, right? But I was definitely guilty of that. And then there's the higher level of a human being, and those are people who talk about concepts. That's what we're doing here tonight. We're talking on a high level. We talk only about concepts. And for the most part, I try to talk mostly about concepts, but I also talk average conversation. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's not about good or bad. A higher level person is not a better person, it's not a worse person. It's just different levels of where you are at. So the question is, why do we notice when something is not done right? And for now, what we spoke about last week was talking about other people. When we see other people do something wrong, when we see people going off a healthy path, do we try to save them? Do we try to protect them? Do we try to assist them when we have not been asked to? And why would we do that? And what we came up with, the reason why we notice things is because each and every one of us, and like I said, that the way I look at the world for me is a barometer. When I go out in the day, if you ever want to know where you are at emotionally, how is your inner self? Where are you at with your connection to Hashem, with your connection to yourself? How do you know when you are at a good place, when you are at feeling connected? And what I use as a barometer, and it's not only my own words, is how I see the world. When I go out, and if I'm noticing a lot of errors, a lot of mistakes, if I go into a store and I go, oh my gosh, this is really poorly managed. If I'm noticing where people are abrupt, where people are aggressive, where people are disrespectful, I know that I am not doing well. If I see it, if I notice it, then that for me is a red flag that right now I am not as stable as I would like to be on my emotional state. And that is why I'm noticing it. And why is it that we do notice other things? Why is that a barometer? Why is it so difficult for us to live without being affected, being noticed what other people do? And the reason for that is, and we spoke last week, is that each and every one of us starts our life with trauma. We are all born, and the birth of a child, whether it is a natural birth or whether it is a cesarean, a C-section, it does not matter as far as this part is considered. It is traumatic for the child. I understand that there are births that are traumatic for the mother, but we're not talking about the mother right now. We're talking about the child. And every human being, all 8.3 or 8.2 billion individuals on this planet, every single one of us started life with trauma. Every one of us. That is how God decided how the world is going to be. I'm not in management. I don't make the rules. However, this is what was decided by God. That is how life happens. Life begins with a struggle. Life begins with trauma. If you are born a natural birth, the child becomes almost unconscious, and the head is squeezed to fit through a narrow pathway. And then it comes out of the mother's womb and it has to breathe for itself. That is traumatizing for an infant that was living for the last 9 months in a very warm, all taken care of and all inclusive, right? Everything has been taken care of for that infant for the last 9 months. It doesn't have to eat for itself. It doesn't have to breathe for itself. It doesn't have to move for itself. It has been carried around from place to place, and it is warm, it is comfortable, it receives all its nutrients and all its necessities from its mother. And all of a sudden, it's put into this cold world, and it can't see very well, so it's scary. Starts to cry because it's unhappy, it's uncomfortable, it is not in its natural habitat, and it's scared. That is the trauma that every single human being, every single one of us, you can't pass that stage. There's no quick fix to that. That is how we all start life. We all start life without struggles, with a struggle. So people who say, oh, life is not supposed to have struggles, they obviously have a short memory loss because short-term memory loss because you started your life with a struggle. Yes, life is supposed to have its struggles. That is how we are created. That is how we start our life. We start with struggle. Clearly, so if we start with a struggle, we're going to be able to be more accustomed to it. We should be, right? As life goes on. That's not always the way. However, the point is that we all start off from what we call a negative bias. Also ingrained in us is the will to survive. The will to live, that will is a very powerful thing that you don't have to work towards. That is given to you from the moment you are born. It is not only given to you as a human, and the more you study the depths of it, and I remember when I was studying microbiology in nursing school, to me was the most fascinating course that I studied was talking about the cells of the body, and there are trillions and trillions of cells on a cellular level. That means those cells that every 11 months, every cell in our body dies and is replicated. You're constantly aging, you're constantly changing. Every cell has in it that will to survive. And when a virus comes in and a cell is fighting off, trying to fight off this virus, it will send a message to the cell next to it to notify it to prepare itself and to protect itself because there is a foreign object, a virus or a bacteria that has entered the bloodstream, has entered the system, the human being, and it is notifying it to prepare itself to fight against it so that it should survive. Fascinating. The will to survive, the will to live is not only in humans, it is in all mammals, it is in all species, it is in all vegetation. There are plants called the ivy plant that it gravitates and holds onto the tree next to it and will wrap itself around it because it itself does not have a spine, doesn't have a strong holding, and it could suffocate the tree. Nonetheless, it has the will to survive, and it will do whatever it can in order to live. Every morning when we wake up with that will to survive. So well, that's where this negativity comes from. It is not because you're a bad person, not because you're a negative person, not because you're a pessimist. You were born with trauma, you were born with struggle, and it is our job to go through life to be able to work through that so that we can live a happy life. So when we talk about staying in your lane, noticing what other people do, it's not because you're a bad person. It's because you're really trying to protect yourself. That is why you will notice when other people do things wrong because it's scary. When you see somebody who's sad or upset, we want to console that person. Why? Is that healthy? Not always healthy. It's better to let the individual work through their feelings and not to numb them out, to actually work through them. But it is uncomfortable for the people around them to see somebody who's upset. We don't feel safe when we see another person next to us who is unhealthy, especially if it's a loved one. Even more so, right away we want to console that individual. Right away we want to tell them, Oh, stop crying. Did your parents tell you that? My parents did. They didn't allow me to express my emotions. No, they didn't know how to deal with feelings and emotions. However, it's part of life to feel emotions. Emotions is a part of its vitality. Nonetheless, because we have that will to survive, we are hyper vigilant and we always careful. So when we see people that are going off a little bit, we have a difficulty staying in our lane. We have difficulty because we want to fix it. Why? Why do we want to fix it? For ourselves, for our own protection, for our own guidance. And like I said, that I will notice when I start noticing that people are off, when I start seeing the negative side of people, because every single human being, everyone, there is no human who does not have this. None, not a single human being, not in the history of mankind has there been a perfect human being who never, ever made a mistake. I didn't say never sinned because there are three people, I believe, that never sinned. However, made a mistake, there is not a human being on this planet who was ever created who never made a mistake, who does not have a negative side. We all have positive traits, negative traits. Why? That's how we were born. When we start to notice other people's negative traits, it's because you, are not feeling safe at that moment. And the reason why we don't feel safe is because we were born with trauma. So we have to work through that in order to get to that. And it's very liberating to recognize that it's not that there's something wrong with you. That is our natural way, that we have to fight within ourselves in order to get to that positive state. It is definitely possible, something we teach a lot in our program. For me, how it manifested itself, I was 312 pounds. That's where I got up to because I thought there was something wrong with me. I didn't know that was normal. An abnormal response in an abnormal situation is normal. There are things that are normal, but we think that we need to be perfect. And why do we think that? Once again, because we were born through struggle. We were born through trauma. And therefore, we are always hyper vigilant. We're always careful not to make mistakes because the fear is, uh-oh, what's going to happen? So once again, ask yourself, how do you react when you see somebody who's not doing something right? Do you tell them? And again, we're not talking about your own children. Obviously, that's a completely different discussion. That's about parenting. We're not discussing parenting here. We're talking to adults who see other adults or maybe see other people's children who they're not yours. What do you do? Do you stay in your lane? And what are the consequences of not staying in your lane? And what are the rewards of staying in your lane? And last week we spoke about others, what you notice with others. And I promise you that this week we're going to speak about ourselves. What is about ourselves, about staying in your lane with yourself? And I started to talk about that already when we were mentioning that being perfect is not it's first of all, it's not humanly possible to be perfect. Secondly, the reason why we want to be perfect is once again because we started off with trauma. We started off with a struggle. And therefore, the fear is always there. Fear is a natural feeling that human beings live with. We all live with fear. It is not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. But staying in your lane for yourself means understanding what it is that you're going through. If somebody else's problems become your problem, when you take on somebody else's problem, you're not staying in your lane. See, staying in your lane is recognizing that when somebody else is off, Not your monkey, not your circus. Therapist told me this. I thought it was the most brilliant statement. I've coined that and we use it a lot in our program. Not my monkey, not my circus. I need to stay in my lane. Now, what are the rewards of staying in your lane? And how do you get to staying in your lane with your own work? So, first of all, we started to talk about is having a proper and an accurate perspective about yourself. Understanding that, like I said, that you started off with a struggle. You started off with negativity. You started off with trauma. The first thing that happened to you when you were born. And therefore, fear was instilled in you from the moment you were born. It is the job of the parents to guide the child, to let them understand their true self, to let them understand that it is a natural thing to have fear. It is a natural thing to be afraid. It is a natural thing to make mistakes. It is not a bad thing, just the opposite. Mistakes is where we learn. So, once again, if you go out and you notice that everybody else is doing something wrong, when you notice that you, because we said we're going to talk about ourselves tonight, when you are doing something wrong and you think there's something wrong with you, then you're not staying in your lane. You've left your lane and now you're confused. Now you're frustrated. Now you feel stuck. Why? Because you're not staying in your lane. What is your lane? Your lane is that you are a human being, that you have limitations, that you make mistakes, and you started off life with trauma. That is called staying in your lane. So when things don't go perfectly, when things don't go your way, when things are not working out, I asked a patient last night in the hospital where I work. I said, I don't know about you, but I never got a contract when I was born that said that life was going to be calm, easy, perfect, and no struggles. Did you get such a contract? I asked her. And she started laughing. So that we have a life that has its ups and downs, that has its challenges, it doesn't necessarily mean that there is something wrong at all. When you start to try to fix something that's not supposed to be fixed, you are not staying in your lane. How do you be able to differentiate when you're supposed to actually do something and when you're actually supposed to just accept things as they are? And the question is, do you judge yourself harshly? Are your perspective about yourself? Is it off? Are you staying in your lane? Are you recognizing who you are and your strengths and your weaknesses? I have a friend who was going out. He was going on a shidduch. He was going out dating to get married. And he told the shadchan, he said, do me a favor. I don't want to hear any of the positive things about the girl. Everybody says, oh, this is a wonderful girl. She's amazing. She, after school, she helps with the needy and she does this and she does that. Beautiful. All these good things. I want to hear the negative things about this girl. I want to hear what is wrong with him. And I want to see if that's something that I can live with, because there's no such thing as a perfect human being. I really don't want to know the positive qualities. We all have positive qualities. I want to hear the negative qualities. I want to know if I can live with this person with their negative qualities, because that's really what a relationship is about, is tolerating each other's inadequacies, because we all have them. We all have them. And if true love is tolerating another person's inadequacies, that's what a good marriage is. We all have great things that we do. We're all caring, as I ended off last week, that the world is basically good people. We're all good people. We're all trying to survive. We were all, every one of us, born through trauma. Every one of us. I know I've mentioned it many times because I'm really trying to drill that home, that message home, that we were all born through struggle. So having struggles in life, having challenges, and just because I'm talking about it, I don't want you to think that I'm past it. I am not past it by any stretch of the imagination. But that's okay because that is my journey. That is what I do. I constantly do this work that we're talking about tonight. I do it every day. Every day goes by, and not a day goes by, I should say, that I don't do this work on myself. I don't know any other way to survive. That's why I've kept my weight off for so long, because I do this work every single day. I don't have the luxury of just existing. I tried to exist, it didn't work. So, how do you get to a place where you don't judge yourself, where harshly, I should say, we always judge ourselves, but you don't judge yourself harshly and you accept yourself? So, I love this therapist. I don't know if she's a therapist, she's a psychologist, Susan Jeffers. I don't believe she's alive anymore. She's written many books about fear. One of her famous books is about fear and very powerful. And she lists 6 things that I'm going to go through with you of how to get past, live with, work through those negative thoughts, those negative voices about ourselves, those harsh judgments. Staying in your lane means that your lane, I don't think anybody here has a straight lane, no such thing. Our lanes are up, our lanes are down. But staying in your lane means recognizing, not rationalizing, not diminishing, not exaggerating who you are. I'm not talking about for the rest of the world, I'm just talking about for yourself. Like I said, when you do this work and you go outside, I guarantee you, you will start noticing the beauty of the world around you. You will start, and she talks about that. We're going to get to that in a minute. So let's start off. The first thing to do is to differentiate by when you're staying in your lane and when are you not in your lane. The first thing is list the payoffs. What are you gaining by complaining about yourself? What are you gaining by blaming somebody else for your misfortune? I remember I was thinking about this. It was just recently, the other day. I think it was even yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. And I find a lot of my work, my inner work, and again, everybody has their place where they find I guess where they can practice, this stuff. And I find it a lot on the road. When I'm on the road and slow drivers who are looking at their cell phones while they're driving and weaving in and out of lanes, not moving with the flow of traffic, I find that's where I really can check in on myself to see where I'm at. Am I getting agitated? Am I getting anxious? I realized once that the only drivers that I'm going to get behind and get stuck behind are slow drivers. Quick drivers drive fast. You don't get stuck behind them. You only get stuck behind slow drivers. So I know where I'm at by how I notice other people driving. And I think it was the other day, maybe it was yesterday, and this driver was doing something, and I'm like, whoa. And the thought came into my head, and I go, wow, I must be anxious. Wow. Imagine if I go over and tell him what a stupid thing that was, what an idiotic thing that was for you to do that. And I started laughing at myself. I said, wow, if I'm noticing that, then I must be anxious. I came up with an acronym for myself, and I teach this in the program, idiot. The word idiot. I did it once too. So whatever this driver did, I did it once too. Maybe sometimes I'm aware of it, maybe sometimes I'm not. People are not always aware of what they're doing. I don't believe that there are very many people in the world who are intentionally trying to wreak havoc and to harm other people. There are people that are expressing their frustrations and they just don't care. I get that. But the average person is really a good person. God created good human beings. I saw this poster once. God does not make junk. No, he doesn't. We have a choice to take what we have been given and what are we going to do with it. So God basically makes good people. So the first thing to ask yourself, list the payoff. Decide for yourself, what are you going to gain? So I was laughing. What would I gain out of getting out of my car? I'm not actually going to do this, but I'm just the thought process. Get out of my car, go and yell at this person and tell them, you idiot, that was really stupid. That was really dumb thing. What would I gain out of that? Is there any payoff? Would I feel better if I tell them? Would I? No. I would feel worse. Not just that, I just created an enemy. Total stranger. I made an enemy. I did that if I would say something. Is that payoff? Is it really worth it? Is it really worth it to criticize somebody? Is it really? And while we're doing that, while we're talking about the listing of the payoffs, know your options. Number two is know your options. You're in a difficult situation, something that we teach in the programs. There's always option C. If you're on option A or only option B, that's the all or nothing thinking, you're not in a good place. Because as humans, there is more than two options to every single situation. My first mentor used to tell me that God has endless solutions to every one of my problems. People who are agitated, they take every solution and they find a problem for every solution. You can find a solution to every problem. What are your options? Know your options. Step back. What are my options? My options are to react. That's one option. My option is to keep quiet. That's another option. My other option is to meditate over it, to reflect on it, to learn from it. Nelson Mandela says, I never lose, never lose. I either win or I learn something. So there's always, in every situation, there's always option C. And if you know your options, it makes life so much easier, because if you feel constricted and you feel like, oh my gosh, I only have two things, it's either this or this, I'm in a dilemma, you're not in a good place. You're not in a good place. Number three, and this is a very powerful option, way to differentiate. Listen to yourself. The gut, the stomach, gets anxious. The gut knows when something is right and something is wrong. The brain, which is supposedly the intelligent part of our bodies, tells the gut, why am I going to listen to you? You're just the stomach. You don't know anything. I'm the brain. I'm the logic part of this human being. I'm going to make a decision. I'm not going to listen to the gut. That's how I used to be. I didn't listen to my gut because I didn't know that it was talking. When you feel an emotion, listen to yourself. Something that took me a long time to learn. Listening to yourself means not reacting. Listen to yourself. Yourself, which is your spiritual self, your inner self, your innermost powerful part of yourself, is very wise, extremely wise. It does not have an ego. It has no agenda at all. It is your subconscious. And it is a very powerful voice. Listen to that voice. Listen to yourself. If yourself is scared, don't say, that's ridiculous, and go for it anyways. I don't know how many have not listened to themselves and it has cost them. It has been very costly. Listen to yourself. I want you to know that the only reason that I'm here, the only reason that I'm talking to you is because all the things that we spoke about till now, I hadn't done for years, the positive things, for decades. I reached 312 pounds, taking 9 anti-diabetic medications. I was really distraught. And I reached a bottom that I daven, I pray, I never forget that pain. Never forget that pain. I pray that I never forget that pain, because if I remember that pain, I'm going to be okay. And then when I got help and I lost my weight, and for the last 21 years that I've kept my weight off, I've stayed in my lane. I stay in my lane. I keep learning more about my lane. I keep learning more about who I am, my limitations, who I am as a human, the ways of the world. I keep studying it. I keep learning it. I don't pride myself with an accomplishment. I pride myself that I'm grateful that I've been given this gift. It's a gift. There's millions of nurses in the world. I work with a bunch of them. I'm a nurse myself. Millions of them. And there's only a handful that can give such a dissertation. I'm not the only one. I don't think that I'm unique like that. And I got here not because I'm so virtuous and so fantastic. I got here because of that pain, because of that pain. And I've kept that weight off. And now what I do is I teach people how to keep their weight off. I teach people how to get to the source of what they're eating. There's a lot of medications out today. When I lost my weight, there was no medications. There was no shots. I think these shots are fantastic. I really do. I think they're amazing. They're much better than bariatric surgery, much better than the bald. They have a tremendous amount of health benefits. They're not a quick fix by any stretch of imagination. There's no such thing as a quick fix other than a flat tire. However, they will help you lose weight. What they won't do is they won't help you to keep it off. That's what you got to do, is you got to stay in your lane if you want to keep your weight off. I've been working on staying in my lane for 21 years. And I help people. I've helped several hundred people lose weight, keep their weight off, and it's expanded. I'm very honored and grateful that we help people get to the source of their overeating, because that's really what it's about. So we really want to help people. That's why we do these Mindful Mondays. That's what we're looking for. We're looking to help people. Why? Because I was gifted with the solution. I didn't find the solution found me. I was looking for this for 40 years before. And all it did was got me to 312 pounds. I didn't stay in my lane by any stretch of imagination. I didn't even know what it meant. The solution found me. Why did it find me? I can't answer that question because I have no idea. I'm not in management. I don't know why God gave me the solution. I really don't know. That is something that I am forever grateful. And to show my gratitude, I do these things. I help other people because I believe that's my calling. That's my mission. I don't believe God does anything randomly or just for one person. So if he gave me this, he's saying, okay, Alan, I got a job for you. I need you to help other people. And that's what I do. I try, not because I'm a great guy, really. I think I'm okay. I think I'm an okay guy, but I don't think I'm like, certainly not a tzaddik, and I'm not like anything unique or special. But I have been gifted with this solution that I teach people. And we came up, our team, we said, we really got to help more people. How are we going to do that? So we came up, we said, you know what? We got to give something really good. And we decided for tonight, we're giving a special offer. We have a 6-week program, and I'm going to get to the other 6 things. I didn't forget where we're up to. I have 3 more to go. And we decided that we have a 6-week program where we have a 98% success rate of people losing 6 to 15 pounds. Now, I know with Ozempic, no big deal, right? Doesn't work for everybody. Certainly doesn't teach you how to keep it off. Our program does teach you how to keep it off. It also reduces anxiety. So even if you don't have an eating disorder, we help you with that. And if you know somebody, if you yourself or know somebody, we're running a very special offer one time. First 5 people that sign up, we're charging $3.99. We normally charge $6.97 for this program. $6.97 for the 6-week program. That's what it costs us. We're doing it for $3.99. This is a one-time offer for the next 24 hours, and only for the first 5 people. If that's something that you want help with, sign up in the next 24 hours. You just text into the office 845-400-9466. The word sign up. That's the price. $3.99 instead of $6.97. That is a basement bargain deal. That is only once. It's only for the next 24 hours and only for the first 5 people. Only for the first 5 people. We're doing a very special thing, special offer, because we really want to help more people. I want to stay in my lane, and I want to help other people stay in your lane. So if you know somebody, or if you yourself are struggling, and it doesn't matter whether you're taking the shots or not, it really doesn't matter, because the shots is not the solution. It is a guide, it is an assistance, it's definitely a supplement that will help. It curbs the appetites. I'm not talking about the side effects with nausea, but it definitely will help curb your appetite. But I have a supervisor at work. She got really skinny. She's already gaining her weight back. That's what happens with this stuff, because it's not a quick fix. It doesn't get to the source. Would I do it when I was 312 pounds, if I had the shots? Absolutely. I would jump on it. Why not? And I think if you have it and you have access to it, jump on it. Why not? However, if you combine the two, the inner work that we do with, that's the best, because then you'll keep it off. So just remember, the next 24 hours, have to sign up. We're having a one-time offer for the first 5 people. Just text them to the office, 845-400-9466. A one-time deal. It's gone after 24 hours. And again, this is the first 5 people, because this is really below cost. We lose money on that price, but it doesn't matter. We want to help more people stay in your lane. So we're offering that special tonight. And again, if you have a friend or a relative, doesn't matter. You don't have to have been here for it to happen. So let's get back to number 4. We said, listen to yourself. If your gut is saying, oh, I should, and then doubts come in, you're not listening to yourself. That's the other voices that come and attack that. So we're teaching you how not to listen to that other stuff, but listen to your true self. So we'll repeat it. List the payoffs. What is the rewards from telling somebody else or making this decision? Is it beneficial? Know your options. If you just have 2 options, you're not in a good place. You've got to have at least 3 options in order to make a decision. Listen to yourself. Listen to what you are saying. Listen to what your deepest inner voice is saying. Choose your experiences. What does that mean? So when you're writing your options, write in a notebook what change presently is upsetting your experiences. And now you can change it. I'll give you an example. We changed the clock, right? Yesterday. Somebody can say, wow, I got an extra hour of life, right? I got an extra hour of life. I decided to have an extra hour of sleep. I'm so grateful. They took an experience and they chose the experience. Now, you can have somebody else who can say, I can't stand it. It's getting dark so early. Choose your experience. How do you want to make your experience? The key when you are choosing your experience, stay in your lane. Do not blame others if you're upset. Don't blame. Choose your experiences. See, trauma in general, and theories talk about this a lot. The trauma is not the actual event. You see, when the child is born, during birth, they are not. Oh, by the way, we got almost 5 people, so you better hurry up with that discount. I'm telling you, first 5 people. So don't delay on that. When you were born, sorry, this got a notification. I look at my phone because people send me messages while I'm talking, so I can see that. During the event, you're unconscious. The trauma is actually after the event, your perception of the event. Because during a traumatic event, not birth or any event, while it's happening, you are afraid. I'm sorry, you're trying to survive. I misspoke. You're working on surviving. You're not thinking about the consequences. You're just trying to survive. Afterwards, when you're reflecting on what happened, when you are reflecting on what happened to you, now that's the experience that you choose. Are you going to look in and say, oh, wow, I'm so grateful that I got through this. It was scary, but I made it through. I'm so grateful that I got through the experience. It could have been so much worse. That's called choosing your experience. Or you could say, hey, this was horrible. I can't believe this happened. This other person, how dare they do what they did? How dare God do what he did? And so on. You have now chosen your experience. You had family over, was Yontif, right? Last month. What do you remember from that holiday? Do you remember how beautiful it was with the family? Or do you remember that there were so many people and was so much work and you had an argument with this one, you had an argument with that one? It took so long. What do you remember? Your experience, and we created this last Mindful Mondays, we can change your experience. They changed the clock. Wow, I had an extra hour. I'm so grateful. Oh my gosh, it's getting dark so early. Again, choose your experiences. And here's, for me, a very big one, number 5. Find the gift in everything. Everything in life is a gift. We don't come here because we asked to live. We don't ask to be born. We're forced. We were not asked. So we have a choice. We can look at life from resentment, entitlement, or we can find a gift in every single thing that is here. Nelson Mandela says, I never lose. Never lose. Imagine living a life like that. I either win or I learn something. Find the gift in everything. And again, we teach it a lot in that program, the one that we're practically giving away. We teach all these things in the program. Number 6, ditch the criticism. Get rid of the criticism. Stop criticizing yourself. Remember, stay in your lane. You're a human being. You started off with trauma. You started off with struggles. You started off with challenges. That's what life is. Yeah, it's normal to have struggle. It's normal to have challenges. It's normal to fail. These are normal things. Stay in your lane. For others, like we spoke about last week, what is the payoff to help somebody off? To try to change them? To give them advice when they didn't ask for it? For yourself, judging yourself harshly, it takes work. It does. It does take work. So here we can say, like this experience, right? Here's a perfect example. Wow, it's so much work this that you're talking about. Or you can say, yes, it's work and it is so rewarding. The life that I live today, 24 years later, I have zero negatives in my life. My only negative that I have is what I create. Oh, I don't have problems. I have challenges. Absolutely. I have challenges. I do. Sometimes harsher than others. But problems, negatives, I don't have any. I'm extremely grateful. I was given a second chance 24 years ago when I let myself into crisis center. I was suicidal. I wasn't actually going to do something as far as suicide, but I was really down and depressed. And today I'm helping other people. That doesn't make any sense. That's not logical. That's really not. Yet here I am. Hundreds. I've helped hundreds of people rave about our program. I've been gifted to create this program to find a solution. Hundreds. I'm humbled by it. I talk about it because it's not, for me, it's not an ego thing. It's like I'm still in awe. I still get goosebumps. I'm in awe that I'm doing these Mindful Mondays. We started doing them in January. We've received such phenomenal feedback. Mindful Mondays. Amazing. People come and they listen to my stuff. Wow. I just finished my second book called Keep Those Pounds Off. Just finishing the graphics, and hopefully it'll be out on Amazon, I hope within the next month. Keep those pounds off. I wrote a book. Crazy. I had this head psychiatrist in Mount Sinai, because that's where I work. I work in Mount Sinai. Read it. Gave me rave reviews. He says, I'm going to give it to other physicians to read these theories that I came up with. Wow. Amazing. Me. I'm blown away. But I just want to tell you that I keep learning to stay in my lane. I've kept the weight off. If you know somebody, don't be selfish. Tell them. Bring them to us. Let us help them. We have the solution. And right now, like I said, I think we got our 5 people. Maybe they'll extend it. I don't know. But nonetheless, bring them to us. The next 24 hours, you sign up. I'm sure we'll let it go a little more. You know what I'm saying? But so far, they agreed to 5 people. But if you have a friend who wants and says, hey, within the next 24 hours, sign up, we'll sign them up. We want to help you. That's why we're here. We're just human beings helping each other. I want to thank you for listening, for staying here, for listening to what we have to say. I hope you gained something from these Mindful Mondays. Tell your friends about it. It doesn't cost anything. If they sign in the word mindful, they will have access to our newsletter that we send out pretty much every month, which is a synopsis of what we spoke about here. In written form, you get the email. And that concludes tonight's session. We will be on again in 2 weeks. And what we're going to be talking about in 2 weeks is imitation versus identification. You don't know what that's about? Come in 2 weeks, you'll find out about who do you want to be, getting a little bit more clarity about yourself. So that concludes our session. We're going to open it up for questions and answers. If you have a question about what we spoke about tonight, or if you have mostly about what we spoke about tonight or last Monday night, press *6 to unmute. One thing, we don't cross-talk. If somebody's talking, please do not interrupt them. Please do not give suggestions to other people who have asked questions. We want to keep everybody to feel safe, that they should really express themselves. Or if you're too embarrassed or you're unable to speak, people can unmute now, press *6, or you can text your question in 845-400-9466. And we'll stay on as long as the Q&A goes to a certain reasonable amount of time. Let me just pause the recording. When a person is not in their lane, they're not going to be stable. They're not going to be calm, I should say. And it's going to increase the cravings. And when cravings go up, cravings are almost impossible in of themselves to win every time. The whole idea of the Ozempic and the shots is to remove the cravings. It's an appetite suppressant so that person doesn't really feel like eating. The problem is it doesn't do it. It does it through the GLP-1, which is a hormone in the brain. It doesn't really get to the anxiety aspect of it. And that's why people gain their weight back when they stop taking their shots, because they never really addressed the why they eat in the first place. So if you're not staying in your lane, and I'm answering this person who texted while I'm answering you, if you're not staying in your lane, then you're not going to be able to keep your weight off. So we don't.
When you say craving, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you say craving, I'm thinking craving sugar and junk food and cake, and I'm not craving that. I'm just eating more than my portion is allowed, and that's my issue. Is that also considered a craving?
100%. What is a craving? Let's talk about that, because you mentioned a very powerful point. What exactly is a craving? You don't have to answer. I'll answer it for you, but I just want to hear what you.
I'm listening.
Remember we said one of the 6 things to do is to listen to yourself, right?
Yes.
A craving is a desire to numb an emotional True?
A non-emotional discomfort?
No. A craving is to numb, N-U-M-B, to numb.
Numb. Yes, that's right.
To distract an emotional discomfort.
Okay.
That's what a craving is. An overeater craves food as the distraction. A workaholic craves work to distract. Somebody who is chaotic and cleans their house a lot when they get anxious, they crave to clean their house because that helps them numb.
Okay, I have to write that down. It's too deep. Craving is numbing the emotional discomfort. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, you're saying it 100% right. And you can change the word numb, N-U-M-B. You can also use distract. It's the same idea. So we're distracting an emotional discomfort. Correct? You can relate to that?
Right.
That's what a craving is. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be sugar. It doesn't have to be any specific food item, even for an overeater. It can just be an abundance of food, because if you eat a lot, you feel full, right? The truth is, and this is crazy, it's not logical, but this is what it is, and only an overeater can really comprehend this. What we're really trying to do is get to that bloated feeling of discomfort. We're trying to eat so much where we feel horribly physically.
But I get that feeling only after an hour after overeating. Why I
Doesn't matter.
don't I
Doesn't
feel
matter
it?
when. Doesn't matter
On the
when.
on the moment. On the
But
moment, it
that's
feels
the
so
goal.
good, and I'm not full.
But that's the goal. That's the subconscious goal. If it's an hour later, half an hour later, 20 minutes later, the goal is that but you know, right? When you eat a lot, you're going to get that feeling, true? So
But I'm blocking that feeling. I'm
that is
blocking it.
really, that's really what you're trying to do on a subconscious level. Why would you do that? And I'm not saying you personally, I'm just saying in general, an overeater. I hope you don't feel that I'm criticizing you.
Okay.
Why would an overeater do that?
So many reasons.
Okay.
Food is an enjoyment. It's part of our entertainment. It could be a bunch of reasons.
I'm sorry?
Because it's good and it's an enjoyment.
No, the discomfort feeling is not enjoyable, is it?
The discomfort only comes afterwards, and then that's when we start regretting it.
I understand that, and that's the feeling that we're looking for. That regret. That negative feeling is what we're trying to distract from the other negative feeling. That's what the craving is. Crazy, because we believe the physical discomfort that we have from being bloated, right?
Yes.
Is blocking the emotional discomfort that we started to eat with in the first place.
Right.
Somebody texted, oh, if you did the boot camp, why do you still have questions? It's not a quick fix.
No, I'm not done, but I still feel like I need the self-control. I need a class on that. You had your portion and then
it
stop.
takes time, 100%. It's like anything else. It takes time. Yes. But you got more clarity now, right? You have more clarity.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. So here's a perfect example. One lady saying, oh, thanks for explaining. Somebody else said it's amazing. It makes so much more sense now that I heard that after 6-week boot camp, there's an 8-week go weight program. Makes me calmer, of course. We teach you how to keep your weight off. Doesn't happen in a day. Does not happen in a day. And it's a process. It's a healing process that we take you through 5 shifts of healing. So it does take time. However, you gain more clarity every day. You start losing weight, and then we teach you how to keep that weight off. That's what it is. There's more and more clarity, gets deeper and deeper. I don't want to get too heavy. I don't want to scare people or get people confused. But the craving is trying to distract the emotional discomfort that's causing us. Now, for overeaters, it's causing us to eat. Like I said, for other people, for people who are anxious, they want to stay chaotic. They want to stay busy. They can't be calm. They need to constantly be doing things. That's all part of the same craving. It doesn't necessarily have food. And even within food, like this person was saying, she just craves more food, which was one of my things. I realized that I'm addicted to more. It wasn't necessarily sweet. Anybody else? I believe I answered the questions that were sent in. Oh, here we go. What do I do when I get mentally drained and I feel like I can't follow the program? 1 minute. I lost the rest of the message. I'll make it 1 second. Oh, she's the one who said, okay, it has more afterwards. Okay. Yes. Okay. So realize we don't leave you hanging. There's different stages and it's a process and it definitely takes time. But we have the solution. So once again, even if it's not you or you have a relative who has, and there's men in the program also. If your husband or relative is struggling, please send them our way. All right. 6-3, you unmuted. Yes. Hi.
Yes, hello. You hear me?
I hear you gotta speak a drop louder, please.
Okay.
Much better.
I'm doing the boot camp program now, and I heard one of the lessons. I heard that you're saying that we're not going to die from, you're expressing the fears that people have from following a food plan. That is not what they're used to, a different amount of food. And so I see that what me bothers constantly is that I get like mentally drained. Like I get like it comes a point where my body says that's it. I don't know about anything. I want food and that's it. Like I'm nursing currently, so I feel like I'm getting much more hungry. So I feel like maybe I need a readjustment of my food plan because I was really hungry at the end of the day. I didn't know what.
I agree with you that if you're in nursing, you do need to add some proteins, not carbohydrates, but some proteins and some fluids. And
Yeah.
I would get in touch. We do have it. We have a menu coach, and I would get in touch with our menu coach and discuss it with her.
Could be that because I'm nursing, I cannot take a food plan that is according to my weight. I have to go a little bit above.
100%. Absolutely.
I think so because I was stretching for 1 week, and Thursday I was like plotting. I couldn't do it. I was like, I am hungry. Say what you want. I'm hungry. I'm really hungry. I'm like, it touches the brain at one point.
Yes, you could very well be hungry, and there's a lot of solutions to that. I remember when I was losing my weight, there were some days that I felt hungry, and I would there's a lot of free foods. There's zucchini I used to put in the microwave and heat it up, and I would have a hot food. It was very soothing. So the soup, there's many things that you can do, but yeah, you should definitely get in touch with our menu coach to go over that. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, yeah.
If you're nursing,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, beautiful.
Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Anybody else have a question or a comment? Doesn't have to be about eating per se.